What if I told you that you may have been praying wrong your entire life? Not because your words were empty or because God ignored you, but because the way you understood prayer was never its true meaning. Most of us pray as if we are filling out requests, words rushed at red lights, whispered in moments of panic, or repeated like a duty checked off a list. We believe prayer is about asking and waiting for something to arrive. But Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi master, saw it differently. He taught that prayer is not a transaction. It is orientation. It is not about bending God's will to meet yours, but about bending your heart back to Him. This small shift changes everything. Suddenly, the silence you feared is no longer silence. It is invitation. The delay is no longer refusal. It is design. Even the longing itself becomes part of the answer. Stay with me until the end, because by the close of this reflection, you will see why the most powerful prayer may not be the one that changes your world, but the one that changes you. Tell me, have you ever prayed and left wondering whether you were truly heard? Share where you're watching from in the comments. I want to know your story. If you pause for a moment and think back, how often has your prayer sounded like a hurried whisper between tasks? A quick sentence mumbled at a red light, eyes darting between traffic signals, lips moving but heart distracted. Or the prayer offered only when life turns into crisis, when the phone call comes from the hospital, when the bills stack higher than your strength, when the silence of loneliness presses too heavy. In those moments, prayer becomes a flare shot into the sky, desperate and sudden. And yet, the rest of the time, it is absent. There are other times when prayer is technically present, but the soul is far away. Imagine sitting down, words flowing from memory, while the mind scrolls through tomorrow's deadlines or tonight's dinner. The body bows, but the heart is somewhere else entirely. You finish, stand up, and feel the same heaviness as before. Nothing has shifted. You wonder quietly, did I pray or did I just recite? It is in these moments that an uncomfortable honesty begins to surface. I said the words, but did I arrive? Ibn Arabi often reminded us that the essence of worship is presence. Words alone are not enough if the heart is absent. Think of it like static on a radio station. The voice is still there, but buried beneath noise, the message distorted. Or like knocking on a door while walking away, you tapped, but you never waited for it to open. Sometimes our prayers resemble seeds tossed on stone. The action is complete, but nothing takes root. The danger here is not only disappointment, but misunderstanding. We begin to think prayer itself has failed us, that God has turned away. But what if the truth is gentler? What if it is not prayer that is broken, but the way we approach it? Let me ask you plainly, when you pray, are you speaking at God or are you turning toward Him? Do you leave the prayer with a lighter step, or do you walk away carrying the same burden as before? And the hardest question of all, when did prayer in your life become a task instead of a meeting? Prayer was never meant to be rushed through like an item on a checklist. It is not a password to unlock blessings, nor a speech to impress heaven. It is a meeting point, a place where the human heart faces its origin. But when prayer becomes a duty without intimacy, it loses its flavor. The lips move, but the soul remains thirsty. Ibn Arabi described prayer as a mirror. It reflects the state you bring into it. If you bring distraction, you will see distraction mirrored back. If you bring sincerity, even in broken words, you will find sincerity echoing within. In this way, prayer reveals not just your relationship with God, but your relationship with your own inner truth. So if you find your prayers thin, empty, or unfulfilling, do not assume God's mercy has withdrawn. Mercy is constant. The shortfall is often in our aim. We confuse words with presence, requests with surrender, motion with arrival. And the result is that we leave the prayer room unchanged. But the truth is simpler and more hopeful. If prayer feels empty, it is not because heaven is closed, but because the doorway of intention is misaligned. The moment you adjust that door, even slightly, you find the air changes. You realize God was never absent. It was you who prayed without turning your face fully. And so we must begin here with honesty. If prayer feels thin, perhaps the aim is wrong, not God's mercy. In the writings of Ibn Arabi, a sentence returns again and again like a refrain. Nothing is random. Everything speaks the language of its creator. The stars above, the breath within your chest, the unseen thoughts that rise like waves, all of them are part of this language. Prayer, then, is not a request thrown into silence. It is how you tune yourself to hear what is already being spoken. This is a profound shift. Most of us are taught to imagine prayer as a transaction. You ask, God decides, you wait for results. In this model, the focus is on getting what you want, as though prayer were a bridge of negotiation. But for Ibn Arabi, prayer was not negotiation, it was orientation, the turning of the heart toward its true north. Think of a traveler standing in a wide field. The compass in his hand does not create the north. It simply aligns him to what already exists. In the same way, your prayer does not generate God's mercy. It aligns you to it. When you lift your hands, you are not moving heaven closer. You are adjusting your inner compass to face the source that was always present. This is why Ibn Arabi would often remind his students, you think you are the caller, but often it is the call that found you. That subtle yearning to pray, the sudden urge to whisper his name, the tears that rise without reason, these are not only your actions, they are invitations sent to you first. What you believe is your reaching for God may in fact be God reaching through you. From a psychological perspective, you could explain prayer as focus, meditation, or emotional release. These explanations have their truth. Prayer calms the nervous system, sharpens intention, offers comfort. But Sufi wisdom insists there is a deeper orchestration at work. Behind the soothing of your heart is the hand that soothes. Behind the shift in your vision is the one who shifted it. To stop at psychology is to miss the hidden speaker who animates every cause. This is where the frame of destiny transforms. In common thought, destiny feels like a locked script, unchangeable lines written long ago. But Sufis, like Ibn Arabi, saw destiny more like a vast field with many streams. The framework is set, but within it flow endless possibilities. Your choices, your longings, and especially your prayers are the way you step into one stream instead of another. Prayer does not break destiny. It reveals which path in destiny was waiting for you. When you pray with sincerity, you are not forcing God's hand. You're aligning your feet to the current He has already prepared. Imagine a river with many bends. The water will reach the sea regardless, but your prayer helps you enter the bend that was made for you. So let me ask you, what if the very first answer to your prayer is not something outside, but the shift that happens inside. What if the real power of prayer is less about getting something and more about becoming someone new? Could it be that when you finish a prayer and feel lighter, calmer, or more present, the answer has already begun? Ibn Arabi called prayer the mirror of the heart. Look into it, and you will see where you stand. If you face only your own desires, the mirror shows longing without peace. But if you face God, the mirror reflects a clarity that shapes every other choice. This is why reducing prayer to transaction misses the point. Prayer is not about adding items to a list for heaven to process. It is about aligning yourself to the truth already surrounding you. It is a change of direction, not a contract. And if prayer is orientation, then the natural question follows: what misaligns us? If prayer is meant to be orientation, then the tragedy is how easily we misalign the compass. We step into the prayer mat, yet face the wrong direction of the heart. The body bends, but the intention strays. Ibn Arabi would remind us that even a slight misalignment can make the traveler end up in the wrong land. Here are 3 of the most common ways our prayer loses its aim. The first misalignment is instrumentalization, treating prayer as a tool to get what we want. Imagine a child who visits his parent only when he needs a gift, never simply to sit and be close. When prayer becomes this, its essence is diminished. You do not see God as the beloved, but only as a supplier. It is like staring at the gift wrap and ignoring the giver. Ibn Arabi taught that such prayer narrows your vision. Instead of turning toward God, you are turning toward your own desire. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, if I pray harder, maybe I'll finally get what I want? That thought reveals the shift. Prayer becomes bargaining, not intimacy. The second misalignment is divided attention. The lips recite verses, but the mind scrolls through schedules, messages, unfinished tasks. We speak the words while our heart is absent. It is like calling a friend while scrolling on your phone. Your voice is there, but your presence is missing. Ibn Arabi warned that such distraction empties the act of its depth. The prayer remains a shell without spirit. Picture a letter without breath, a song without sound. Even in the most rushed and broken state, God still hears. But you leave unchanged because you never truly entered. The third misalignment is outcome control. Praying with a stopwatch in hand, measuring God by speed. You ask for relief today, and when it does not arrive tomorrow, you conclude the prayer has failed. It is like planting a seed and then digging it up every day to see if it has sprouted. You kill the growth by your impatience. Ibn Arabi explained that surrender is not weakness, it is trust in timing. To demand outcomes on your schedule is to forget that the Lord of Destiny does not rush, yet never delays. These 3 misalignments are not failures of God's mercy. They are slips of our orientation. Instrumentalization makes prayer self-centered. Distraction makes it hollow. Outcome control makes it impatient. And in each case, the result is the same. We walk away from prayer feeling empty, unchanged, or even resentful. But the correction is closer than we think. Each misalignment invites its opposite. Instead of instrumentalizing, come to prayer for presence, not product. Instead of divided attention, bring whatever state you truly have, even if that state is weary, angry, or wordless. Instead of controlling outcomes, practice trust, watering the seed without tearing it from the soil. So ask yourself, in which of these 3 do you most often lose your way? Do you approach prayer only when you need something? Do you repeat the words while your heart races elsewhere? Do you grow impatient when life does not bend at once? These questions are not accusations. They are gentle mirrors. For once you notice the misalignment, you can adjust the compass. Ibn Arabi's path was not about perfection in form, but sincerity in direction. Even if the words falter, even if the mind wanders, the smallest honest turn toward God realigns the whole prayer. It is not eloquence that carries the prayer upward, but truth of intention. So let us remember, if prayer feels empty, it is not because heaven is closed. It is because we have turned the compass of our heart elsewhere. And that realization itself is mercy, for it shows us how to turn back. If misalignment is the problem, then the question becomes, how does prayer look when it finds its proper alignment? For that, we turn to the real lives of those who prayed and were transformed. The truths of prayer are not only found in books of theology, they live in the quiet corners of ordinary lives, moments when the heart bends and something unseen begins to move. Let me share 3 stories, each simple, each human, each carrying a reflection of what Ibn Arabi meant when he said, "Every prayer is an echo of God calling you back to Him." The mother and the diagnosis. A mother sits in a hospital corridor. The fluorescent lights hum overhead. The clock ticks louder than usual. The doctor's words still echo. "We cannot promise anything." She lifts her hands, but no words come. Her lips tremble. At first, she pleads, "Save my child. Take this pain away." But then something shifts. The panic softens into surrender. Tears fall not as bargaining chips, but as offerings. Her voice steadies. "I don't have the words. Take my heart instead." Nothing miraculous happens in that moment. Machines keep beeping, doctors keep working, but inside her, a calm enters. The heaviness in her chest loosens, her breath steadies. She still does not know the outcome, but she feels accompanied, not abandoned. In that very instant, prayer has already answered her, not by changing the diagnosis, but by changing the state of her heart. The job lost, the door turned. A man loses his job unexpectedly. He walks home with his box of belongings, shoulders sagging, fear crowding every thought. That night, he kneels. His prayer is simple, raw. "My Lord, open my path." He expects nothing immediate. Days stretch into weeks, uncertainty biting harder. Yet slowly, opportunities appear, not glamorous, but aligned with skills he had long neglected. Months later, he finds himself in a position where his talents blossom in ways his old job never allowed. Looking back, he realizes the prayer was not wasted. It did not return his old job. It redirected his steps. The loss became the door to his real provision. Ibn Arabi often said, "You think you are the one asking, but it is destiny itself that gives birth to your prayer." The man's words that night were not desperate noise. They were the very bridge by which he crossed from one destiny to another. The longing removed, a woman longs for companionship. For years, she prays for marriage, whispering the same request night after night. Each season passes, each friend weds, but her prayer seems unanswered. Frustration grows. One night, her words changed. "Protect my heart, my Lord, even from my own desire." What follows is not a suitor at her door, but a gentler shift. Slowly, the restlessness fades. The ache for what has not come loosens its grip. She begins to taste contentment in her solitude, to feel companionship in her closeness with God. And then she realizes her prayer was answered, not by fulfilling the longing, but by transforming it. The desire itself was lifted as an act of mercy. Ibn Arabi explained this mystery simply. What you think is acceptance may be refusal, and what you think is refusal may be acceptance. For your Lord's decree is tied not to what you desire, but to your truth. These stories are not tales of grand miracles. They are reflections of subtle mercy, the kind that reshapes hearts before it reshapes circumstances. They show us that prayer is not measured only by visible results. It is measured by the transformations it awakens within. So we begin to see the pattern. The mother found calm, the man found a new path, the woman found release. Each one prayed, each one was changed, each one stepped into a different current of destiny. And this invites the question for us. If prayer is this mirror, this compass, this bridge, then what are the inner mechanics that allow it to truly align? If stories show us the living fruit of prayer, then we must ask, what is the soil that allows that fruit to grow? The Sufis call it adab, the inner etiquette of prayer. Not etiquette in the sense of rigid formulas, but in the sense of state, readiness, and alignment. For Ibn Arabi, the key was never in the length of your words, but in the direction of your being. The first movement is intention. Before the lips even part, the heart must quietly name its turning. You might whisper to yourself, I am here for you, not only for outcomes. This simple shift changes everything. Instead of entering prayer as a transaction, you enter as a meeting. The destination is no longer the gift, but the giver. The second is presence of heart. Presence does not mean the mind never wanders. It means you notice when it does and gently return. Sometimes presence is as simple as 3 slow breaths before beginning. Feel the air move in, feel it leave, and remember who gives each breath. Ibn Arabi described presence as the point where the heart attends the one, even if the tongue stumbles. Better a broken word with presence than 1,000 polished phrases spoken absent-mindedly. The third is praise and gratitude. Prayer is not only asking, it is remembering. Begin with gratitude for what is already in your hand, the air you breathe, the safety of this moment, the unseen mercies that carried you here. Praise places you in the rhythm of giving and receiving. It reminds you that you are not beginning a conversation. You are joining one that never ceased. The fourth is honesty. Many believe they must dress their words for God, present only polished emotions. But Ibn Arabi insisted the opposite. Truth is the highest adab. If you are angry, let your prayer carry that anger. If you are weary, let the silence itself be your prayer. Sometimes a single tear or a moment of wordless stillness holds more sincerity than 100 rehearsed invocations. Bring your real state. It is the only one God has asked for. The fifth is asking clearly, then listening longer. State your need plainly, without bargaining, without disguising it. Then pause. Sit in the quiet that follows. Let the words echo. Hold a divine name on your tongue. Ya Razak, O Provider. Ya Hakam, O Wise. Ya Basar, O All-Seeing. Repeat it slowly, let it resonate, and allow the heart to listen. Ibn Arabi taught that remembrance is not repetition for God's sake. He needs no reminder. It is repetition so that you remember whom you are facing. The final movement is surrender. Seal the prayer by releasing the outcome. Not abandonment of effort, but release of control. Like a farmer who plants the seed, waters it faithfully, and leaves the growth to the earth and sky. You do your part. God completes the rest. Through these steps, the inner mechanics of prayer reveal themselves not as rigid rules, but as an orientation of state. You are shifting from transaction to intimacy, from demand to trust. You are aligning your compass to the field of destiny already unfolding. And this is where the divine names illuminate the path. When you pray for provision, remember Ar-Razak, the provider whose sustenance reaches even the smallest ant beneath the soil. When you face confusion, recall Al-Hakam, the wise, who arranges delays not as denials but as designs. When you feel unseen, whisper Al-Basar, the all-seeing, who knows the tremor of your heart even before you name it. Each name is not just a title, but a mirror reflecting how God is already present in your moment. So the real question becomes, what changes in you during the prayer itself? If nothing outside shifts, but you rise calmer, more aligned, more aware, was that not already the answer? Yet many still wonder, what about silence? What about delay? What about the times when no seems to echo back from heaven? One of the hardest experiences in prayer is waiting. You whisper your need. You lift your hands, and then silence. Days pass. Weeks stretch into months. You begin to wonder, was I even heard? Ibn Arabi offered a perspective that both comforts and unsettles. Your time is not God's time. What you call delay may in fact be perfect timing. What feels like absence may be presence unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Think of a canyon. When you call out, the echo does not return instantly. It takes a journey across the walls before it comes back to you. So too with prayer. The echo may be traveling through unseen chambers, waiting for the appointed moment to return. Sufi wisdom teaches that answers come in many forms. Sometimes it is the yes you recognize. Sometimes it is not yet, a shield protecting you until you are ready. Sometimes it is something better, a redirection that later feels like mercy. And sometimes the answer is the gentle removal of the very desire you prayed for. That too is acceptance, though at first it may feel like loss. There is an image Sufis often use, a seed buried beneath snow. To the impatient eye, nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, strength is building. The snow that looks like a burden is the very thing protecting the seed until spring. So it is with delayed prayers. What you think is silence may be shelter. What you think is refusal may be preparation. Ibn Arabi explained that time itself is layered. We see it as linear, one moment after another. But in truth, every prayer is written into the weave of existence at its destined point. The moment you ask may not be the moment you receive. The answer may already be alive, just not yet visible in your current chapter. So ask yourself, if the first answer to prayer is the shift inside you, would you still call it unanswered? If calm replaced your panic, if trust softened your fear, if clarity lit a corner of confusion, was that not already a response? This does not mean prayer never touches the outer world. It does. Lives change, doors open, illnesses heal, sustenance arrives. But Ibn Arabi reminds us that even when nothing visible changes, something invisible always does. The unseen rearranges before the seen catches up. Perhaps what God is teaching us is patience, not passive waiting, but active trust. The patience of the farmer who waters the soil each day, knowing the seed grows in hidden silence. The patience of the traveler who trusts the map, even when the road curves away from sight. So when you feel your prayer has met only silence, remember, Silence, too, is a kind of speech. Delay, too, carries meaning. Every moment is still part of the language of the Creator. And this brings us to a practical question. If this is how prayer works in the unseen, how then should we pray tonight, in a way that aligns with this hidden wisdom? If you have followed this journey, you may already feel something stirring inside. The question now is simple. How can you pray tonight differently, sincerely, aligned with the wisdom Ibn Arabi left us? Let us walk through 7 gentle steps. Not rules, not rituals to weigh you down, but movements of the heart that can reshape how you turn toward God. Step 1. Prepare a small stillness. Before you speak a single word, clear a corner of your space. It may be as small as a chair by the window or a prayer mat by your bedside. Dim the noise. Let your phone rest. In that stillness, you are already creating a sanctuary. Prayer begins before the words. It begins in the choice to pause. Step 2. Arrive in breath. Take 3 slow breaths. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. This breath is not yours. It is a gift renewed with every moment. Ibn Arabi would say the breath itself is a verse, a sign. Let those breaths gather your scattered thoughts. Each inhale is arrival. Each exhale is release. Step 3. Name your turning. Quietly, in your heart or with your lips, say your intention. I turn to you. Simple words, but they orient the compass. Without this, prayer risks becoming mechanical. With it, even a short whisper becomes luminous. Step 4. Praise before request. Before asking, remember. Think of 3 mercies from today. A smile you received, the food on your plate, the breath you just counted. Name them and give thanks. This shifts the prayer from scarcity to abundance. You realize you are not coming empty-handed. You are already immersed in gifts. Step 5. Speak the truth. You're in, do not hide your state. If you are tired, say it. If you're angry, bring it. If you're silent, let the silence itself be your offering. Ibn Arabi taught that the highest adab is honesty. Sometimes a single tear is the truest prayer. Sometimes a sigh is more eloquent than 1,000 rehearsed words. Step 6. Ask once, then listen. State your request clearly. Not bargaining, not demanding, just placing it in His hands, then pause. Hold one of His names on your tongue. Ya Razak, O Provider. Ya Hakam, O Wise. Ya Basar, O All-Seeing. Let the name echo in your heart like a bell. Listening is as much a part of prayer as speaking. Often, it is in the quiet that the answer first begins to stir. Step 7. Seal with trust. End with surrender. You have planted the seed, now release the outcome. Say it gently. I leave the result to you. Guide my steps. This is not weakness, but strength. Like the farmer who waters faithfully, you do your part and let the unseen earth do the rest. These 7 steps are not formulas to guarantee results. They are reminders of orientation. They help you turn the compass of your heart fully so that when you pray tonight, you are not simply reciting. You are arriving. You do not need an hour. Even 5 minutes, prayed with presence, can reshape a night. You do not need eloquence. Even broken words carried with sincerity are precious. And you do not need certainty of outcome. You only need trust that every prayer is heard, every longing is known, every whisper is recorded in the unseen. So when you stand or sit in prayer tonight, remember, the goal is not to control destiny, but to align with it. The power is not in forcing the world to bend, but in bending your heart toward the one who already holds it. walk away from prayer as if the answer is already teaching you how to walk. That is the beginning of transformation. When you pause tonight and lift your hands, remember this: prayer is not about forcing outcomes. It is about realignment. Even the smallest turn of the heart can change the entire direction of a life. Ibn Arabi reminded us that every prayer is an invitation to return, a chance to reorient yourself to what is true. So the question I leave with you is this: when your prayer feels silent, what small change inside you is already answering it? If this reflection has helped you see prayer differently, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next journey. Share your own experiences in the comments. Your story may be the reminder someone else is waiting for. And if you wish to continue, the next video now on your screen carries another step deeper into the wisdom of Sufism.